Noorani Saab would have made an excellent judge on the Supreme Court. Sometime in the second half of 1995, I was invited to interact with a small group of senior army officers on the very perennial theme of role of media in conflict situations. There were a dozen or so colonel and brigadier rank officers. I was doing my practice number, all the cliches about media and its recognized place in a democratic setup, etc., etc. The army officers were polite and courteous, but not terribly impressed with all this spiel about sanctity of freedom of speech, etc. The question-answer part began. Suddenly, a colonel asked, somewhat impatiently and rather rudely, why should this country allow this A.G. Noorani to write all this nonsense about the army was doing in Kashmir? That, of course, was a time when the Indian state was engaged in an extremely difficult and demanding task of restoring its lost control in the valley, and it was not a picnic for anyone. Yet, the army officer's question was not palatable to me, nor was it pleasantly asked. Equally heatedly, I replied, A.G. Noorani is exercising his right as a commentator under the authority of the same constitution which gives you and your colleagues here the authority to perform your assigned task in the Kashmir Valley. And for good measure, I added that it would be a sad day for our constitutional republic when A.G. Noorani or any other unintimidated journalist will allow himself to be browbeaten by an army officer. The meeting ended not on very pleasant terms. By that time, I had never met Noorani Saab. It was much later that I came to understand and appreciate that Abdul Ghafoor Noorani Saab was a one-man institution. He was not much liked by the security establishment. Even the so-called liberals, more often than not, found him irritating because he had this really irritating habit of always anchoring his argument or contention in this or that constitutional principle or judicial pronouncement. He was not an outsider, nor a disruptor, but a legal fundamentalist who insisted on the authority of the state being carried out in a lawful manner. The politician and the bureaucrat always have their own reasons to stay outside the law, professing that the interests of the state are paramount. But Noorani Saab invariably argued that the best interest of the state would, in the long term, get served only if the authority and its coercive instruments were operated within the law. This made him unpopular with each and every establishment of the day. not that it slowed him in any way down. But as I see it, essentially he was a Nehruite to the core. Many of us would recall that Jawaharlal Nehru's famous formulations. When asked what he thought was his biggest challenge, the then Prime Minister's reply was, creating a just society with just needs. Noorani Sahab was simply implying that the just means could only be legal means, consistent with the constitutional parameters, and no Prime Minister, no politicians, no magistrate, no army colonel, and for that matter, no goon in the state has a right to draw outside the constitutional lines. I'm inclined to add this with a thought. Noorani Sahab would have made an excellent judge on the Supreme Court. But then he would not be, because he would not play by the rules. Had he even done that, he would have found himself most of the time on the losing side as the lone dissenter. Thank you.